We spent the last few years, talking to AI.
Yeah, just chatting constantly.
Right. We ask it complex questions. It returns brilliantly written answers. We basically treat it like an incredibly patient, instantly available sounding board.
Completely.
But today, I want to explore a very profound shift in that dynamic. We're looking at what happens when the machine actually stops talking. We're exploring what happens when it, rolls up its sleeves, when it starts doing our chores.
Yes. It's a massive fundamental shift. We're finally moving away from this era of endless conversational ping pong. We're stepping firmly into the realm of pure autonomous execution. It changes everything about how we work.
Welcome to the deep dive. I'm very glad you're here with us today. Our shared mission is unpacking a highly comprehensive guide on a fascinating tool. It's called Claude Co-work.
And we aren't just going to read through a list of technical features today.
No, we're going to explore the underlying philosophy of delegation. We'll examine the actual mechanics of building a completely autonomous digital workspace.
Okay, let's unpack this. We really need to break a few ingrained mental habits right out of the gate here. Most people fundamentally still treat AI like a basic chat interface. You type a highly detailed prompt into a text box, you wait for it to generate a response, you copy that text into your own document,
Right.
and you just move on with your day. Claude Co-work operates on a completely different mechanical level.
It isn't just another conversational chatbot living in a browser tab. It's an agentic tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's define that jargon clearly for a moment. An agentic tool is an AI that plans and completes multi-step tasks on its own.
Perfect definition. And, to accomplish that level of planning, it lives exclusively inside a desktop application. It absolutely does not run in your standard web browser.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it requires direct, secure access to your local operating system. You don't hold its hand step by step through a process anymore. You simply assign it a highly specific final outcome. Then you physically step back from the keyboard. You let it navigate the files and do the work. It's truly like handing a complex project to a capable human employee.
That brings up a very important, almost philosophical point I've been wrestling with. Giving an autonomous AI free reign over your private local files seems incredibly daunting.
Oh, absolutely.
Does doing this require a terrifying leap of faith? Do we just accept a total loss of our digital control?
Well, it definitely sounds terrifying when you first conceptualize it that way, but you aren't actually giving it unrestricted access to your entire primary hard drive. You maintain total granular control over its environment.
Okay, that makes sense.
You purposefully create a dedicated, isolated workspace folder on your machine. You place only the specifically necessary, relevant files inside that boundary.
Right.
You control the exact contained environment where the agent is allowed to operate. It literally cannot see anything outside of that designated box.
So you bound the risk by defining clear folders and specific outcomes. But conceptualizing these boundaries abstractly doesn't quite capture the reality of the tool.
No, it really doesn't.
We need to ground this in a highly tangible, real-world scenario. Let's talk about the mechanics of organizing absolute digital chaos.
I really love the messy invoice example for illustrating this perfectly. I want you to imagine your absolute worst, most chaotic desktop folder.
We all have one of those.
We really do. It's completely packed with random, unsorted financial invoices from the last year. You have properly downloaded pristine PDFs from your bank.
Right, the clean ones.
Exactly. But you also have weird, blurry smartphone screenshots of crumpled paper receipts. Everything is just mixed together in a totally unsearchable, unstructured mess.
Normally, organizing a digital nightmare like that requires hours of tedious manual data entry. You have to open every single image just to read the total.
Right, and that is precisely where Co-work fundamentally changes the entire paradigm. You simply connect that specific messy folder to the desktop app. You clearly ask it for a neatly sorted organizational system. You ask for a perfectly clean Excel summary sheet summarizing the data.
Okay, so what does it actually do?
Claude autonomously opens and reads every single file in that folder. It uses optical character recognition to read those blurry smartphone screenshots. It logically groups all those disparate files by vendor and date.
Ooh.
Yeah, it physically creates brand new subfolders on your hard drive. It actually moves your files into those newly created folders. Then it autonomously builds the entire spreadsheet from scratch.
And the most fascinating mechanical detail is how it handles the math inside that spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's huge.
It doesn't just confidently guess the final numbers based on text prediction.
No, this is incredibly crucial for building actual trust with the system. It uses actual native Excel formulas for all of the column totals.
All right.
It extracts the raw individual numbers directly from the messy receipts. It places those raw numbers into the specific spreadsheet cells. Then it writes a native sum formula, letting Excel handle the rigorous mathematical calculation.
How do we know the AI won't just hallucinate those financial totals?
That's a great question.
Especially if it's struggling to read a particularly messy, poorly lit screenshot.
Because it writes those native Excel formulas directly into the document itself, it creates a perfectly transparent, highly auditable mathematical paper trail. You can literally click on the final cell in the spreadsheet. You can manually verify the exact formula and the extracted numbers yourself. It removes the opaque black box from the AI's internal reasoning.
Using actual Excel formulas prevents it from just blindly guessing the final math. Beat.
Exactly right.
Now that we understand how it autonomously manipulates real files, we need context. We must accurately categorize this against the AI tools you already know well. If we look at the current landscape, there's a distinct AI trinity.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, there are three distinct versions of Claude. You have chat, you have code,
Right.
and now you have co-work.
Right.
Understanding the mechanical differences between them is vital for using them correctly.
Let's break down the specific utility of those three distinct versions. They solve entirely different problems.
Think of the standard Claude chat interface as your brilliant creative assistant. It's absolutely perfect for deep thinking, exploring abstract concepts, and brainstorming ideas. Then you have Claude Code, which is an entirely different beast altogether. Think of Code as a highly technical senior software developer.
Okay.
It runs entirely in a dark, text-based terminal window on your machine. It's built strictly for technical users who are building complex software systems.
Right, not for the average user.
Exactly. Finally, you have this new paradigm with co-work. Think of co-work as your highly reliable operational office employee.
A reliable operational employee. I
Yeah.
think that framing clarifies the utility perfectly. It isn't trying to write complex Python scripts in a terminal environment.
Yeah, it's designed specifically for executing highly repeatable, file-based office work. And it accomplishes all of this within a very simple visual interface.
So no coding required.
You absolutely do not need to know a single line of programming code. You interact with it exactly the way you already interact with your computer.
That distinction really makes me wonder about the natural progression of learning these tools. Why shouldn't a non-technical person just try to learn Claude Code?
Oh, that's a trap.
Especially if it's technically the most robust and powerful version available.
Because the initial learning curve for code is incredibly steep and often frustrating. Code strictly requires you to fully understand complex text-based terminal commands.
Right.
You need to confidently manage intricate GitHub repositories and local programming environments. It's a highly technical, deeply unforgiving interface for the average knowledge worker.
Makes sense.
Co-work brings that exact same autonomous execution power safely down to earth. It utilizes the visual folders and standard document files you already intuitively understand.
Code demands programming skills. Co-work gives you that power through simple visual folders. Beat.
Perfectly stated.
Because Co-work integrates so seamlessly with visual folders, it feels endlessly powerful. Because of that, it's highly tempting to just brute force absolutely everything with it.
Oh, absolutely.
But we must seriously warn you about the hidden computational costs here. There is a fundamental mechanical limitation we need to discuss immediately.
Yes. We absolutely have to talk about the reality of token efficiency. It's the silent killer of automated workflows if you aren't paying attention.
Let's define that specific piece of jargon before we go any further. Tokens are the basic units of data an AI reads and generates.
Exactly right. Every single time Claude reads a local file, it burns through available tokens. If you carelessly drop 100 complex invoices into a folder repeatedly, you have a massive operational problem. The agent has to physically reread every single document completely from scratch.
Wow.
Yeah, it has to deeply rethink the entire organizational logic from the ground up. It wastes a tremendous amount of tokens, it wastes a significant amount of your money. It's a highly inefficient way to manage repetitive tasks.
I have a somewhat vulnerable admission to make here. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself and accidentally burning through tokens on huge, unorganized folders.
I think everyone does it first.
It's remarkably easy to just hit enter and lazily hope for the best.
We all fall into that trap. It's the lingering muscle memory from using standard chatbots for the last year, but the elegant, highly efficient solution is turning those one-off workflows into a skill.
So, if brute forcing a large solder continuously wastes valuable tokens, well, there must be a way to reliably capture the logic of a successful run. I'm assuming that's where we finally stop treating the AI like a blank slate.
Precisely. A skill is a perfectly saved, highly reusable operational process. It possesses a specific custom trigger name that you define yourself.
Okay, how do you set it up?
You meticulously run that messy invoice folder task one time manually. You carefully audit the output to make absolutely sure the spreadsheet is perfect. Then you explicitly tell Claude to save that exact successful procedure as a skill.
Oh, nice.
Next week, you don't type out a massive, highly detailed instruction paragraph. You just type a simple trigger phrase like run weekly invoice summary.
But what is the actual mechanical difference happening under the hood there? Why not just securely copy-paste your old successful text prompt from last week's run?
Because pasting a simple text prompt merely starts a brand new, naive conversation. The AI has to computationally invent the wheel all over again from scratch.
Right.
A program skill actually saves the internal operational steps the agent took. It literally saves the specific, successful execution path it utilized previously.
I see.
It fundamentally understands the exact sequence of actions required to achieve the goal. It's significantly faster and exponentially more reliable than a text prompt.
A skill saves the tested multi-step workflow, not just your initial text prompt. Beat.
Mid-roll sponsor red placeholder.
We have our highly efficient, reusable skills firmly established now. But these skills can't just float aimlessly in the digital void.
No, they cannot.
They require a permanent, highly stable home to live and execute from reliably. Let's focus on architecting the system properly.
This is exactly where we dive into the mechanics of scheduling and workspace architecture. Because you have saved skills, you can actually schedule them to run automatically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can literally instruct the system to run your invoice skill every Monday at 9 a.m. You don't even have to open the interface to trigger the action.
But there's a profoundly important mechanical catch to that automated scheduling feature.
A massive catch. Your physical laptop or desktop computer must be actively turned on.
Right.
The Claude desktop application itself must be open and running in the background. This autonomous process is not running out on a distant cloud server somewhere. It's running entirely locally, right there on your machine's physical hard drive.
Let's talk about properly structuring that local hard drive workspace. I mentioned earlier that it's like stacking Lego blocks of data.
Yeah, great analogy.
But how exactly do these specific digital folders interlock with one another?
You need to meticulously build an optimal folder structure to prevent digital chaos. You must create 3 distinct main folders to start your operational foundation.
Okay, what are they?
You name them context, projects, and output. That is your solid interlocking base plate. The projects folder is exclusively where your raw, unprocessed incoming files belong. The output folder is strictly where the finished, polished, final work safely lands. But the context folder is arguably the most vital foundational component of all.
This is where your persistent foundational identity files permanently live. This completely solves the incredibly annoying problem of constantly having to repeat yourself.
Right. You deliberately create highly specific permanent text documents inside this context folder. You meticulously craft an about-me document detailing your exact professional role.
Yeah.
You draft a brand voice document explaining precisely how your company communicates externally. You write a working preferences document defining exactly how you like your spreadsheets formatted.
So you clearly define exactly who you are and precisely what you expect. But simply having those files exist in a folder doesn't actually do anything automatically. You also have to specifically set your system's global instructions.
Yes, that is crucial.
This essentially forces the Claude agent to always read those context files first. It fundamentally anchors the AI before it even begins attempting any new task.
Exactly. It completely eliminates the friction of repeating your basic formatting preferences endlessly. It reads those foundational rules automatically every single time it wakes up.
I'm genuinely curious about the inherent creative constraints of this setup. Does forcing a highly advanced AI into this incredibly rigid corporate folder structure kill the creative magic of the technology?
Well, it absolutely kills the chaotic unpredictability, which is a fundamentally necessary thing. You do not want unpredictable, hallucinatory creative magic when you're doing complex quarterly accounting.
Definitely not.
You desperately want rigid, Boring, highly predictable operational reliability. You purposely save that wild, creative brainstorming magic for the standard Claude chat interface. Co-work is strictly engineered for predictable, flawless consistency and repetitive execution.
It trades chaotic magic for absolute consistency in the work that actually matters. Two-sec silence.
Perfectly said.
We have successfully built a very strong, highly reliable local system now, but having a perfectly organized local hard drive doesn't mean much in isolation.
No, it really doesn't.
Modern professional work fundamentally happens out in the wider cloud. We have to reach the outside world eventually.
This is precisely where we introduce the advanced concepts of connectors and plugins. This is exactly how the Co-work system safely escapes the confines of your local hard drive. It's how it interacts with the broader internet.
Let's start by defining the mechanical function of connectors. How exactly do they bridge that gap securely?
Connectors securely utilize API tunnels to give Claude direct access to outside software tools. You can securely connect the agent directly to your live Gmail account. Yeah, you can tightly connect it to your corporate Google Drive ecosystem. You can connect it directly to Apollo to pull live sales lead data.
That's incredible.
It securely pulls that crucial external data directly down into your local workspace. It operates seamlessly across that digital bridge.
And what exactly happens when we introduce plugins into this ecosystem? How do they elevate the functionality?
Plugins are the next massive paradigm-shifting evolution of this technology. They brilliantly package your custom skills and your external connectors tightly together.
Oh, I see.
They essentially act like a fully functioning, autonomous human employee role. You combine a Gmail connector, a live CRM connector, and your custom drafting skill. Suddenly, you've seamlessly built a complete, fully automated sales outreach pipeline.
Whoa, imagine scaling a single prompt into a fully automated sales department that runs while you sleep. The sheer operational leverage there is genuinely difficult to fully comprehend at first.
It's genuinely wild to sit back and watch it happen autonomously. It transforms the tool completely from a simple organizer into a proactive engine.
But I absolutely have to ask about the inherent security risks involved here. Giving a fully autonomous agent direct access to a live CRM or your actual email inbox seems incredibly dangerous. Could it accidentally go rogue?
It is a massive, potentially catastrophic risk if you are careless about the configuration.
Right.
It could theoretically accidentally delete crucial client files or send terrible, unpolished emails automatically. That is precisely why you never, ever skip the strict permission control settings.
Okay, so how do we manage that?
When you initially set up any connector, you define exactly what it can and cannot do. You strictly grant it read-only access at first. You verify its output manually for weeks before you ever allow it to write or send anything autonomously.
That is exactly why you must strictly control permissions for every single connector.
Beat. Exactly.
Before you rush out to connect your inbox to a brand new skill, we need to pause. We must properly inoculate you against the collateral damage of human error. We need to cover the most common, deeply painful failures users experience.
What's fascinating here is just how completely predictable human error actually is. We all stumble into the exact same behavioral tracks when we first start using autonomous agents. We bring our old baggage with us.
Let's walk through what a typical user's first failing week looks like. On Monday, they invariably treat the agent exactly like a standard chat tool.
Right. They start having a philosophical conversation with it instead of clearly delegating a specific task. You have to aggressively stop talking to it, start assigning it concrete, measurable work.
On Tuesday, they usually give up on chatting, but they dump a massive swamp of files into a folder. They just tell it to figure things out.
If you feed an autonomous agent an uncurated swamp of completely random files, it fails. It's going to spend all its computational energy just trying to figure out what it's looking at rather than actually executing the task.
Makes total sense.
Garbage in will always reliably mean garbage out. Give it a highly curated, remarkably clean workspace to operate within.
By Wednesday, they're ignoring the underlying token costs and operational efficiency entirely.
They mindlessly brute force massive file folders over and over again without saving their progress.
Yeah.
You have to stop treating every single task as a brand new experiment. Meticulously build those reusable, highly efficient skills instead.
By Thursday, they realize the outputs are wildly inconsistent because they completely skipped the crucial context setup phase.
If you stubbornly refuse to build those permanent context files, the agent is flying blind. It'll constantly have to guess your preferred formatting and your professional tone.
Right, which is exhausting.
Exactly. The resulting output will be highly inconsistent and deeply frustrating to edit.
And finally, on Friday, they assume the agent is broken because their scheduled weekly tasks simply didn't run at all.
Because they closed their physical laptop. Your computer absolutely cannot be asleep or turned off. The desktop application itself must be actively running to execute scheduled local workflows.
Of all these deeply ingrained human mistakes, which one is the absolute hardest behavioral habit to finally break?
Without a doubt, it's our overwhelming desire to constantly micromanage the AI. We're so heavily conditioned by the immediate, rapid back-and-forth cadence of Chatbot.
Oh, for sure.
We constantly feel the urge to interject and correct the agent mid-sentence while it's working. You absolutely have to learn how to completely let go of the steering wheel.
Right.
You must define the task clearly. You step away from the keyboard entirely. You let the agent run its entire multi-step process before you dare judge the final output.
Stop going back and forth, delegate the final outcome, step away completely, and let it run. Beat.
That's the golden rule.
We really need to synthesize this entire deep dive now. Let's form a single, highly cohesive mental model for you to take away from this discussion. So what does this all mean?
It means the fundamental paradigm of how we interact with computation has profoundly shifted. Claude Co-work is not just a clever conversational thinking partner anymore. It's a highly robust, remarkably autonomous operational system designed for repetitive execution.
It's really about building massive, highly scalable digital leverage for yourself. You meticulously combine your carefully tested reusable skills. You build a brilliantly clean, highly persistent workspace context foundation. You carefully and securely attach outside API connectors to your live platforms. When you patiently do all of that, you aren't just saving a few minutes of typing each day.
You are effectively computationally duplicating yourself. You're intentionally building a highly reliable, tireless system that perfectly executes your boring workflows every single time. It takes those robotic, soul-crushing digital chores completely off your plate forever. That profound operational freedom allows you to finally focus your energy on actual high-level human thinking.
Exactly. It completely frees up your valuable cognitive load for the deeply creative work that truly matters.
Absolutely.
Before we go today, I want to leave you with a very specific, lingering challenge. I want you to literally look at your computer desktop right now. Look closely at your digital files. Find that one specific, incredibly messy folder.
Oh, you have one?
You know exactly the one I mean. It's the chaotic folder that gives you a mild migraine every single time you're forced to open it. Look closely at that digital mess and ask yourself a very simple question. Why am I still the one manually organizing this?
Let the machine do the machine's work.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time. OUTRU Music.